January 24th was the day when the first corona case was identified in Germany, not published. That happened 2 days later. But on that very morning, that's the rumor, you were sitting together at breakfast. You were reading an article in a science magazine, and suddenly you agreed that you should develop a vaccine against COVID. Is that an invention, or is that story true?
This story is true. So we read an article on January 24 on the evening, which was just published a few hours ago, about the cases in Wuhan. And the article was very informative. And the more we read the article, we got more concerned. And at the end of the reading and some additional analysis, it was clear for us that this is not anymore a local outbreak, that this outbreak is most likely already globally spread and will most likely become a global pandemic.
You were ahead of time, because the Robert Koch Institute in January still thought that the COVID virus is not going to be a big issue for Europe. Why were you so certain that it will be a global pandemic?
At that time point, there were many experts who believed that this will still remain a local outbreak. I was convinced because the pattern of what we observed in this paper clearly shows that it is a new virus which is a member of a family which made a lot of trouble 20 years ago. Mm. And at that time, the first SARS virus was spread, and it was difficult to control this virus, even though it was 20 years ago. Now, today, the traffic is much more. There's much more international traffic. And one very concerning aspect in the publication was there was a description of a single patient who had the disease, who was virus positive, but did not have symptoms, no fever, no other symptoms. And the measures that were put in place in Wuhan were to keep everyone with symptoms in Wuhan, and others could travel. So that means the active measures that were done were not sufficient to control these asymptomatic patients. And therefore it was very clear with some mathematical calculation and projections that this is going to become a different case, not as it was many times before, but this time it was really serious.
What started then was probably the development of the fastest vaccine creation in medical history. Is it actually true that the real creation of the prototype of the vaccination took just a couple of days, 48 hours or something like that, and all the remaining time was basically for testing, for the clinical studies?
Yes, that's true. That's one of the strengths of RNA, that you can construct the factual vaccine candidates very fast. And it was a lot of work which needed to be invested by Ugur mostly at that very weekend to design which different vaccine candidates to test. We did not rely on one vaccine candidate, but created several of them in order to really,
how many?
At the end,
20? Or?
20,
Yeah.
20, which were then constructed and were then tested in a battery of preclinical tests. And we then chose, based on those tests, the 4 best of best into clinical trials. And that was something which was different to the other vaccine developments, that we could really choose between several.
In the whole process of having the idea until approval, what was for you the most important moment, the magic moment where you realized we got it?
The moment of truth is always, when you develop medicines or vaccines, the time point where you are informed about the efficacy. That's the important endpoint. And that was on a Sunday where an independent board, so independent people look into the data and assess whether the vaccine is efficacious or not. Does it prevent, as compared to non-vaccinated people or placebo-vaccinated people, from symptomatic disease? And until that time point, there was no way of knowing whether it would protect or not and to which extent. And when we heard that we had a vaccine protection of higher than 90%, which even for flu, for example, is not heard of, we were very happy. And that was really the moment of truth, because it answered that there was now a discovery of a vaccine against a novel virus confirmed.
We heard a very interesting description of developments and mRNA, but is it a fair summary to say that mRNA is basically a system to cheat the immune system and to pretend that there is a virus in the system that actually did not enter? Is that the kind of mechanism of that vaccine that you have created?
Yes, the mRNA vaccine prepares and informs our immune system so that immune cells form a memory cells. And if the body is then encountering the real virus, these memory cells and the antibodies which are present could directly bind to the virus and recognize the virus. It is somehow informing the human body about a virus which it has never seen before.
And the flexibility and the speed of creating new prototypes or new versions of the vaccine will also enable you to react on all mutations. Do you prepare for a scenario where people need to get a booster every year for new mutations? Is that a realistic outcome, so that we have no post-COVID scenario, but living with COVID and get vaccinated once a year?
Yes, we prepare for that. And with mRNA as a versatile and fast adaptable technology, that is something we can do very easy. We prepare for boosting, and here we have to wait for the data, for the follow-up data from our trials, but also real-world data, to show us how long the vaccine-induced immunity is durable. And that then defines how frequently we have to boost. This might be once per year or 2 times per year. We have to see that. And then there is the question, vaccine variants. Will variants emerge which are not covered anymore by the current version of our vaccine? And also for this we are prepared. One aspect here is that we are monitoring all variants which are occurring, the Brazilian, the UK, the South African variant, with regard to their susceptibility to our virus. Until now we have promising data, namely that our vaccine covers that. For the case that a virus variant emerges which is really of concern and we do not have any protection by the current vaccine, we can very fast adapt our mRNA platform. And this is also something which we already now discuss with regulators, what they want to see for this adaptation.
Talking about speed, COVID is an international pandemic. And the international institution EU is not the fastest if it is about ordering a vaccine and distributing the vaccines. Why is that? How do you explain that?
So we have in the meantime orders from the EU in the range up to 600 million. So the EU is in the meantime the organization with the highest number of vaccine orders. And we will be able until mid of this year to deliver in total about 260 million doses to the European Union. We started, of course, with a lower number, but this will be speed up.
But nevertheless, from the perspective of the people, I mean, if they look to the figures, the non-EU countries are doing significantly better. I think Chile is now world leading with regard to speed and percentage. Israel has vaccinated 60% of its people. Great Britain, roughly 40%. Even the big country, United States, 20%, and says that they're going to be done by May. And in Germany, we are, with the first vaccination, I think at 8%, and with the second vaccination at 3.5%. So it seems that the EU and also a kind of international institution like the EU is a symbol to distribute scarcity in the most social and disciplined and perfectionist manner, but it seems to be dysfunctional. Are you worried that institutions like the EU could suffer from that pandemic and be damaged in the long run?
What we have to keep in mind is that this is a health crisis of unprecedented dimension, scale and pace, with many unknowns along the entire process and its development. And for all countries, for all institutions, this has been a first. Also with regard to preparing their systems, their processes, the way they work, their decision structures to this unprecedented situation. And there are systems, countries, nations who could adapt faster because of the framework they had already in place, and others needed more time. And we will see this due to the diversity of the nations we are talking with all over the place.
Okay, let's talk about your home country, Germany. Is it that we have too much perfectionism and not enough pragmatism in that situation? I mean, in Israel, people get vaccinations in bar and at IKEA, and young people get a beer with it in order to kind of make it attractive. And here we are discussing, distributing 25 pages to prepare people, but almost, nothing is happening. So what's wrong here in Germany? We used to be the best if it's about logistics and things like that.
Yeah, as innovators and problem solvers, this is our job. There are advices we can give without analyzing the situation specifically now in Germany. And pragmatism is, and we see this in several countries, pragmatism is definitely something which is a mechanism we all should live with in this pandemic. We are doing this. The entire vaccine development we did was guided by pragmatism. We also need that in place when the vaccine is distributed into and rolled out in our health system. So, yes.
Could you imagine that one day we could use kind of self-vaccination? I mean, these allergy sticks are very easy to be applied. Everybody can do it. Of course, you have this kind of theoretical allergy reaction risk, but it is minimal compared to the upside. So if we find unconventional solutions, would that be something that you would support?
Yes, of course. It is, at the end of the day, we need to understand, for example, for self-vaccination, what is the number of potential severe allergies. And of course, we need to ensure mitigation measures if something happens, how to react. But in principle, if we find
people can get adrenaline and cortisone and something, if that happens in 1 out of a million, they can act.
Yes, we have to analyze the pros and cons, and this can only be done if there are data available. And of course, people are taking their insulin every day, and if we have a better understanding of the vaccines and the side effect profiles, this could become a practice.
Would you also support kind of corporate vaccination, that companies are vaccinating their people?
Yeah. We need to ensure that if more vaccine doses are delivered, and this is going to happen. Yeah? So at the moment we are delivering 1 million doses per week. This will increase to up to 3 to 4 million doses a week from end of March to mid of April. And this would of course mean that the actual limitations in vaccinations we need to find a solution for that.
The original goal of Biontech and your vision was basically to find vaccines or to find a therapy against cancer. You may have lost a year because you focus more on the pandemic now, but given the fact that Biontech is now worth 25 billion, there's a lot of money and also know-how in order to gain speed with regard to fight cancer. Do you think that one could say indirectly the terrible corona pandemic has save potentially millions of lives because you will do now much, much better in finding solutions for cancer?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually it is interesting that the corona vaccine development benefited from cancer research. And now our cancer programs will benefit from the success of our corona vaccine.
And how about allergies and bacterial diseases?
Yeah, there is an experience, and there are publications showing that messenger RNA vaccination could also address allergies, but these are preclinical models that have not yet been tested in the clinical setting, and this will be for sure some of the projects that we will start. So
longevity is going to benefit from that in the long run. How old should people get and how old can they get? 120, 150? What is your...
It has to be connected to research. At the end of the day, it is not just a simple technology. It is the challenge is to get an understanding, for example, what is driving longevity. Yeah, and we have a better, more understanding in animal models how the lifetime can be increased. And if this type of understanding could be translated in the human setting, we don't see clear limits why for example, people could not live longer and stay healthier even at higher age.
Biontech is really transforming into a biotech platform. We are used to tech platforms like Google and Facebook. Now a new category is arising. Today it's 25 billion. You may be worth 250 billion and even much more in the foreseeable future. And then you're going to be a market dominating platform. And there will be one issue. Your business model is based on data transparency. You need the data of the patients in order to develop your therapy. Do you have any vision how you could balance that, on the one hand respecting privacy and data protection, and on the other hand developing a business model based on data usage?
Would you?
Yeah, I can. Data is very important, obviously, and there is data protection laws, as you know, and it's a bit different in our business model if you compare to Google and such tech companies, that we clearly have to define and consent patients. This is how it is in Germany and most of Europe. Clearly consent patients what we use their data for in the context of the very study which is conducted. So that we, pharma companies can establish huge databases where basically all data of a respective patient is stored and used, that is not supported and promoted by the laws we have.
It's a bit like in Denmark, where every doctor has full access to a patient's data, but they are only allowed to use it if there is approval in the presence of the patient. So that could maybe be a model for you. Were there any backlashes in the last 12 months where you suddenly faced a crisis in developing the vaccine?
Yeah, we had a number of challenges. This is such a development is dealing with daily challenges and with expected challenges, and sometimes also with non-expected challenges. And one non-expected challenge was for example, when we aimed to produce this 100 million doses end of 2020, we trusted that all raw materials that we had ordered will work. And we realized that one of the raw materials, the lipids, which are so important to make this lipid nanocapsules, were not in the right quality as needed. Yeah. And we can't produce if the quality is not there. So we tried to understand how to improve the quality. And it took us a week, and every week was 5 million doses which were not produced. So we ended up, instead of producing 100 million doses, we were only able to produce 40 million doses. And this is hard, because you know that every day you are losing millions of doses which could save lives, yeah, could not be delivered. And this was really a challenge. But at the end of the day, again, the team came up with excellent solutions, and now this is we have the same quality as needed and can produce in higher amounts.
Now the whole world is looking at you. You are kind of mission critical. What happens if in the mid of such an incredible challenge you are having suddenly a marital fight
That does not happen.
That does not happen?
No, especially
why
not now.
This is the first marriage in the world where that never happens.
You see?
Because you have too much to do, probably.
Yes,
No
that's
time
one of
for fights.
my husband always says that marital fights come from boredom, and you can imagine that there is no boredom at the moment at our home.
By the way, I have to ask you a question because I practiced your first name, Ugur, so much. Yeah, but then when we met today, you called him Ugur. So am I wrong now?
No, you are perfect in the way you pronounce it. I have a very strong German accent when I speak Turkish, so I'm delighted to hear it from a German so perfectly.
Congratulations.
I mean, what do you do in order to stay grounded in all this? I mean, you're now multi-billionaires and famous if you walk along the streets. Nevertheless, you take the bicycle every day to go to work. What is your recipe to stay so grounded and normal?
We focus on our work. We really love science. We really love working with scientists and trying to find out the truth, coming up with solutions, and this is 99% of our brain. And everything else is what is needed to live, and we do it in a pragmatic manner. So I have a bicycle because it's the most pragmatic way to move in minds. Yeah? Having a car comes with a lot of responsibilities, so the bike is the most pragmatic way. And so we stay grounded because science is for grounded people.
I saw a conversation that you had with Bill Gates, and you were asked, what is your biggest wish if the pandemic is under control? And you said, I want to sleep. Is that really all?
Yes, that is all. In order to prepare myself for the marital fights you want to see.
Okay, last question. I always, if I see a photo, you wear this necklace. What is that necklace about that you're wearing? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, this is in Turkish. It's another bonjour. It is protecting you from the bad eyes. Yeah, so it is some sort of a belief that if you have that nothing happens, even if people are jealous.
So that's your vaccine against bad eyes?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for spending the time with us. Congratulations.